Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday evening to you all. Hope you guys have had an awesome day and a great weekend out there as we're already coming to the end of it, about to head into a very active weather week, probably one of the most active weather weeks that we've seen this year, and that's saying a lot considering the fact we're almost at the end of the year. But it's going to be very active just in regards to the holidays right here. Big traveling week, and we have a major storm system with Arctic air trailing it. That's going to affect a lot of people. Millions and millions of people are going to be affected by this. So that's what we're here for. We're going to discuss it. How cold can it get? And then we'll talk about who's going to see snow, who isn't, potential snowfall amounts. Remember, everything you see isn't exact. I think a lot of people, just reading the comments over the last few days with some of these higher viewed videos, just think that when they see a number, that's exactly what they're going to get. And then by the time they watch the next video, the next day, it's dropped to something that they don't like or whatever it may be. Just remember, guys, I'm just here to give you the latest information. And then I think as we get to about the next 24 to 48 hours, I'm going to start giving you my thinkings on what I think. But we're here to just compare and contrast the model, guys. We're going to focus on the European and the GFS, which are the two main models. We're going to talk about wind speeds, how strong can the winds get. We most likely are going to have blizzard conditions across areas of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. We're going to talk about a sneaky system for maybe the Carolinas and areas of the South here in the next couple days ahead of this big system. And then we're going to talk about that system we keep bringing up maybe the day after Christmas. There's still a lot of energy flying around, cold air in place. We're going to give you the latest information on that. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. It goes a long way. I really appreciate the amazing support over the last several days. The growth has been tremendous. Some of the biggest growth I've seen so far with having this channel. And I really appreciate it, guys. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as usual, put those in the comments and I'll pray over it. And I promise you others will do the same thing too. I mention this sometimes, maybe about once a week. If you ever consider joining my channel, it's a way to just support me each month. I got about 18 or 19 incredible members who do that. It really helps the channel out and just helps me to keep adding things for the future and putting things towards this channel to make it better for you guys. But let's get rolling here. We're going to jump right into this. We're going to take a look at the European model, take a look at temperatures, and then we're going to talk about wind chills, something we have not discussed yet, which is really going to blow some people's minds about the actual feel-like temperatures with these wind chills, because it's not only going to be cold for everybody affected by this. The wind chills are going to make it feel 20 to 30 degrees colder than what it actually is. But let's talk about actual temperatures first. We'll start this off by Wednesday morning of the 21st, the actual first day of winter. It's going to feel like it, especially for the Dakotas, Minnesota. You're 10, 15, 20 degrees below zero. Notice down here in the south central U.S., even in the Central Plains, areas of Missouri, the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mid-South, just typical December low temperatures that you're waking up to. But as we're moving through here in time, the bottom lets out. And here comes this front oozing southward. We'll stop this around Wednesday afternoon. This frontal boundary begins to drop south and eventually start moving more southeast and east. So enjoy the warm air for Wednesday for sure, because I know that 50s and 60s in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi isn't warm, but it's going to be warm compared to what we're about to experience. So any outdoor activities you need to do before the family comes over in the next day or so, or whatever you might be doing, because you're not going to be outside in these very cold temperatures unless you have to be, unless you work out in it. But as we're getting into Thursday, let's go all the way to Thursday morning. By the time we get into Thursday morning, the front is getting a move on pretty far south, and you're waking up Thursday morning 20, 30 degrees below zero. Look at Kansas. The state's cut in half with the front moving through. Same thing with Oklahoma and eastern areas of Oklahoma. You might wake up Thursday morning, it's only in the 40s and 30s. But if you go to the central and western parts of the state, the front is moving through probably sometime Thursday morning in Oklahoma City, Tulsa. It's just moved through in Kansas City. This could move back and forth. We haven't ironed out completely the exact hour when the front moves through your exact geographical location, city, or town. But we got an idea where it's going to be at in certain sections of each day, if you will. But this is Thursday morning. Front's dropping south. Look how cold these temperatures are. Look at Dallas right here for Thursday morning. You're waking up to the 40s, right? By the time you get into the about the middle of the afternoon, Thursday of the 22nd, you're down into the 20s. So you're waking up in the 40s By the time you're getting into the afternoon, it's down into the 20s. You're waking up to the 40s, then it's down into the 20s by the time you get to afternoon hours. And look out, look down here in Houston, for example, Shreveport, Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and do what you got to do Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, because by the time you get into the evening Friday, the front moves through Shreveport, dropping into the 20s. Look in Memphis, for example, Memphis, Tennessee, in the 50s. In the middle of the afternoon Thursday. By the time you're getting into the evening, the front moves through, and by the time you get into late evening, when you're laying the kids down to bed, it might be in the teens. So that is a massive, massive difference. And I mean, before you even get to midnight in Dallas, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, it's in the teens, the single digits. Incredible air mass in a bad way, and as far as how cold it's going to be. I mean, look at St. Louis. Look at Kansas City. I mean, this isn't even the coldest part of the day. I mean, it's still late evening at this point of the 22nd, 10, 11 p.m. at night. And, I mean, it's negative 10 to 13 degrees in Kansas City, already below zero in St. Louis. This continues, right? And then by the time we're getting into Friday morning, you're waking up and it's about 10 or 12 degrees in Dallas, Shreveport about 10 degrees. This is just the latest Euro. You're waking up to about 1, 2, 3 degrees in Memphis, Little Rock about 5 degrees, Jackson maybe getting down to the single digits here, Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, look how cold it is for Texas, single digits for Amarillo. Just incredibly cold temperatures. I mean, it really is. I mean, look at Illinois, negative 10 degrees. For the middle of Illinois, Chicago, it's kind of weird the way the orientation of this cold air is moving through. You'll actually be colder south of Chicago, waking up Friday morning. But incredibly cold temperatures. You keep this going, and it begins to moderate a little bit, but still only highs in the 20s for Dallas, teens for Oklahoma City. Just impressive. 1 degree. It might get up to 1 degrees. It's weird even saying that. 2 degrees, 3 degrees in Kansas City as you're getting into the afternoon hours of Friday. You're still locked into the tundra up here in the northern U.S. But, I mean, these are high temperatures from the Euro. Let's go on and look at the eastern U.S. Okay, let's go on and back this back up. Well, actually, this done switched to the 12Z. So we'll have to kind of start this over. Not start over, but we'll go on and fast forward all the way to the actual frontal boundary coming in. So we're starting to move into, here comes the front in sight now. We could have made this go a little bit faster. So we're getting into, let's stop it around this time. This is late evening this coming Thursday. Front's done moved through Memphis, like I said. It's around 50 degrees in Nashville. By the time you get to midnight, it might be 20 degrees, 19 degrees. That's a 30-degree drop in a very short amount of time, guys. I'm telling you. The gradient to this cold front is going to be just incredible. It's going to be fascinating to watch. If you got a weather station, I know I do in Columbia, South Carolina. I'll be out and about Friday checking this front out. I mean, it's just incredible to see. You look up here in the Ohio Valley, Indianapolis, you might be, late Thursday evening, you might be going to bed, and it might be in the 40s outside. By the time you wake up Friday morning, it might be below zero in Indianapolis. Same thing with Ohio. You're waking up to one part of the state in Ohio, in the eastern part, in the 40s. But in the western part where the front's done moved through, it's in the single digits. And then this is blasting through, and we're getting into high temperatures for Friday. I mean, you'll probably wake up here in Columbia, South Carolina, for example, Charlotte, and it might be, at midnight, it might be in the 40s. By the time you get into Friday afternoon, it's in the 20s. The temperatures will drop all day. Look how cold it is for the South, guys. This is around high temperatures Friday. 20 degrees for Birmingham. Nashville, 12 degrees. Atlanta, the latest Euro is saying only teens for highs. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but I can tell you one thing with the cold air, guys, is this has not trended warmer. If anything, it's trended colder. The cold front blasts through the northeast, and by the time you're waking up Saturday morning, widespread single digits. This is an air mass that will be colder for the south than it is probably for the northeast. But this is temperatures for Saturday morning, Christmas Eve morning, single digits, widespread. I mean, it'll be colder in the Ohio Valley than it will for, Michigan. Just because the actual piece of the polar vortex, guys, is actually dropping in to this part of the country. So, You're waking up and it's 8 degrees in Nashville, but up here in the UP in Michigan, it's in the 20s. Incredibly odd, but impressive air mass. And the latest European, guys, it wants teens down into north central areas of Florida. Very cold air mass. I mean, you got the iguanas are going to start falling down there in Miami off the trees. But, 16 degrees in Charlotte and Columbia. The coldest air is going to be west of the Appalachian Mountains, but man, just not teens all the way to the coast, guys, and just impressively cold air. Christmas morning, bitterly cold temperatures, and then only highs for Christmas, guys, is probably, it's probably going to struggle to get out the 30s for everybody in the South, and then teens for the Mid-South. Yeah, just very cold. I want to get a closer look at the Deep South. For my folks in the Deep South, I know I got a lot of people who tune in from this. I want to just get a really close look at Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and surrounding states. First off, I'll stop this. This is around Thursday, the warmest part of the day, Thursday of the 22nd. Look down here in South Georgia. It's getting into the 70s. Atlanta, you got a little bit of cold air damming, kind of entrenching you guys into the 40s. But anyways, nothing compared to how cold it's about to be. Look at this. Temperatures rising to near 60 degrees in Birmingham. For Thursday, 60 certainly in the southern part of the state and of Mississippi and Alabama, rising to close to the low 70s in southern sections of Louisiana. So watch what happens. You can obviously tell on the map where this cold front is. Memphis, Thursday afternoon, you're in the 50s. Same thing with Nashville. Huntsville, Alabama, 50s. Here comes the front. This is moving in 3-hour intervals. We get into Thursday evening. The temperature drops from the 50s to the 20s in Memphis in 3 hours. Okay? Jackson, you're around dinner time, you're sitting close to 60 degrees. By the time you get into late evening, probably 10, 11 p.m. Central Time, you go from near 60 to about 30. And then look at Memphis. Memphis goes in a 6-hour period, Thursday afternoon, right here, goes from the 50s to, by the time you get to late evening, around 11 p.m., you go from around 3 or 4 p.m. to 11 p.m., you go from the 50s to the mid-teens. Same thing, Huntsville, Alabama, 10, 11 p.m. It's just give or take an hour because, you guys, I mean, this front could speed up, it could slow down. But I'm telling you, basically I'm showing you this how tight the gradient is. Late evening in Huntsville, making any last-second switches around with Christmas, just got some last-second plans, 50s. By the time you get to midnight, 20s. By the time you get to the wee hours of the morning, teens. By the time you're waking up Friday morning, single digits. You literally go to sleep and it's in the 50s. You wake up and it's in the single digits. Same thing with Birmingham. Same situation, guys. I mean, just incredibly cold air. Atlanta, in the middle of the night, it's in the 50s. Around midnight, it's around 50 degrees in Atlanta. By the time you wake up, it's in the teens. 6 hours, 50s to the teens. Incredibly cold air mass. Same thing with the Carolinas. This front will most likely move through for you folks. Let's speed this up big time here. Let's go on and get a little bit ahead of time. Let's get into Thursday. Here it is. So I'll stop it right here. This is around, 4, 5, 6, about 4, 5, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning. Here comes the front. I know it's in the 50s. You might wake up to around 55 degrees in Columbia, for example, 50 degrees in Charlotte. By the time you get to about mid-morning, it's in the 30s. By the time you get to around lunchtime, it's at the freezing mark. So not as wild. And normally what happens with this is the Appalachian Mountains delays the front. That's why Atlanta can drop much quicker. But the Appalachian Mountains delays that low-level cold getting swept through because the mountains are 4, 5, 6,000 feet tall. That's why you see this weird indentation right here because the air basically blasts from west to east. So it kind of delays it, kind of punches the cold air, if you will, and delays it. But it doesn't delay the inevitable. By the time you're getting into Friday afternoon, it's saying you're in the teens in Greenville, Spartanburg, 20s in Columbia, upper 20s for Charlotte. It might be colder in Columbia than it is in Charlotte just because this cold air is getting delayed. But at the same time, it's going to get very cold. So basically, by the time you're at dinner time, it's in the low 20s. When you woke up Friday, and it was in around 50 degrees. So by the time, you're getting into Saturday morning, it's in the teens, guys. Just widespread freezes. I mean, 19 degrees in Charleston, 17 degrees down here in Savannah. Incredibly cold air mass. I know I'm staying a lot on the temperatures, but I just can't stress it enough how cold it's going to be. This is wind chills, guys. I'm just going to go on and fast forward this. I'm not going to break down every hour, but this is for Friday morning. The wind chill in Nashville is 20 degrees below zero. The wind chill in Birmingham is 6 degrees below zero. The wind chill in Jackson, Mississippi, same deal. Shreveport, 6 degrees below zero. Little Rock, 15 degrees below zero, the wind chill. Look up here in Missouri. You're 30 degrees below zero and even lower in the whole entire state of Missouri, Illinois. Look at this. And then by the time we get into, let's just take it all the way to Saturday morning, the wind chill is near 0 degrees in Columbia. Same thing with Charlotte. Atlanta, you're below zero for the wind chill. Look at the wind chill down here in Florida. You're in the teens. 8-degree wind chill in Jacksonville. Just unreal feel-like temperatures. These are feel-like, not actual temperatures. So, guys, this cold is incredible. And, I know we're 16 minutes into this video and I'm talking about the cold, but the cold is dangerous. It really is. It's going to burst pipes. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. So make any preparations you can the next couple days. Close them outside faucets. Do what you got to do. Any outside animals, get them inside. Just, I got a little bunny that I bought for my little girl about two years ago, and now I take care of the bunny. It only took about a month, and then my little girl pretty much just started ignoring her. So I actually look out for my bunny. I'm going to bring my bunny inside, even though the cage smells, but got to look out for my little bunny. But, make the safety things that you need to do ahead of this, because this cold is unreal, and it is not turning away whatsoever. Let's talk about precipitation. So we know we got this first little system. It's probably going to dump a few inches of snow from Kansas City points west tomorrow morning. We'll see if this uptrends, but the cold air really isn't entrenched. But here comes the big air mass as we're getting into Tuesday. And remember, if you're ever confused about what day we're at, look up here. So we're, getting into the evening of the 20th. And then we're getting into Wednesday morning of the 21st, first day of winter. Here comes the snow. Now, these snowfall ratios up here, all the snowfall ratios are going to be insane. I'm talking 20 to 1, 25 to 1, meaning 25 inches of snow can fall to 1 inch of liquid equivalent. So, take it if you get 1 inch of rain, and you all of a sudden throw these insane temperatures are going to be up here that you're going to be experiencing. Then you'll get 25 inches of snow. So, the standard is 10 to 1. On average, it's around 13 to 1. But anyways, everything that falls up here is not going to melt. So this continues to drop. We're getting into the middle of the night, Wednesday night to Thursday morning. We're taking it all the way out to Thursday morning. It's snowing again in Kansas City. It's snowing in Chicago, Illinois. Very light snow up here. And this is the Euro, by the way. We'll take a look at the GFS, which is much more wintry. But Thursday morning, the snow is beginning to pick up in Kansas City. Rain changing to snow for St. Louis. Still snowing in Chicago, but probably lightly at this point. And look at a little bit of rain switching to snow in northwest Arkansas. And guys, this is going to be the Arctic air is already in. So in Kansas City, it's going to be snowing in very, very cold temperatures. I mean, well below 20 degrees probably. So it's going to be sticking on everything. It's not just this marginal event where it's snowing in the low 30s or upper 20s. It is going to be snowing in frigid temperatures. So it's just a different beast that we're dealing with. By the time we get into Thursday afternoon, low pressure begins to crank up, and then this is when the storm begins to crank up. It's snowing for 85-90% of Missouri. It's snowing all the way down to Little Rock just about. The rain changes to snow. The Ozarks of Arkansas probably going to pick up a few inches of snow at minimum. And then this is when the system really starts to pick up some heavy precipitation. We'll take it out to Thursday evening on the 22nd. Rain changes to snow in Memphis. The Mississippi Valley here, Quad States region, rain changing to all snow for Illinois if you don't just stay snow altogether for the entire system. Snowing very heavily. If I flip and look at the temperatures for this range, well, if I did it, then it would probably... Well, we'll do it anyway. So let's flip and look at temperatures for OOZ Friday. Let's look at temperatures. Look at the snow right here. Keep your eyes on this. Look at St. Louis. Heavy snow. So we'll flip and we'll look at the 12Z for the same time frame. And let's go right here. St. Louis. It is snowing in the single digits heavily. Heavily, guys. It's snowing below zero for Missouri off the Euro. So it is snowing in insanely cold temperatures. It is going to be dangerously cold, and it is just going to be a dangerous storm. And how cold the temperatures are going to be when it's snowing, guys. I mean, it's unreal. It really is. Let's take it back to precipitation map, and here it is. I mean, what did I just show you? No, it's snowing in the single digits. It's just that. I mean, that's uncommon even for you folks in the Midwest. We'll keep this going. Let's go on and switch it to the eastern U.S. off the Euro. Here it is. We'll keep going in time. We're starting to get into the late evening hours of the 22nd, just before midnight. Rain is starting to switch to snow in Indianapolis. By the time you get to midnight, it is snowing very, very heavily. You see how the low pressure's right here and how close Chicago is? To me, that means you're going to have the most intense winds. Chicago could have blizzard conditions. Chicago could have an all-out blizzard Thursday night into Friday morning, guys. They really could. I mean, this is honking at the horn for you folks. This could be a substantial winter storm just before Christmas. A blizzard. I mean, look at the rain changing to snow. Down here in Tennessee, rain changing to snow. It's split down the middle of Kentucky. Indianapolis is snowing very heavily and very cold temperatures. It's snowing all the way down to northern Alabama. But is it going to snow enough to stick? Well, it's going to be very cold. A flash freeze situation is going to occur. So any moisture, regardless if it snows heavy enough, all the way down to Huntsville, Alabama, it's going to freeze. Everything's going to freeze. So you might go to bed in Huntsville, Alabama, and for example, I'm just throwing Huntsville, Alabama, because I think that's the one, probably the most further south city that I think could see at least a dusting. I mean, it's snowing in the middle of the night. You might go to sleep and there's nothing going on. You know, the front hasn't moved through, and it's too warm to snow. By the time you wake up, there might be a dusting of snow on the ground. Heck, maybe more. But we'll go all the way to Friday morning. The low pressure has not budged. It's right here in Michigan. It is the wraparound moisture and winds are pumping through out the north in Chicago, and you got all-out blizzard conditions. Rain changing to snow for all of Ohio. Friday morning, Cleveland, you go to rain to snow. Same thing with Detroit. And then you keep this going, and I think that we could squeeze out some back-end rain snow showers as far south as Atlanta, Greenville, Spartanburg, Charlotte. I really think it's possible. I think there's going to be more moisture around than maybe what these models are showing. So hold out for a McFlurry down there in Atlanta. I really think this is going to be an event. Even after this pulls through, there's going to be a lot of energy around. And I think we'll see a lot of flurries, a lot of snow showers flying around this Arctic air mass, even after it pulls through. So if you miss on the snow, I think it's possible that you could see some things after the snow pulls through, after the storm pulls through. We'll talk about that when the time is needed. It's all rain for the Northeast. If you're a winter weather fan in the Northeast, it's just, it's just going to be a raging rainstorm before the flash flood comes through. But you'll stop it around midday Friday. You got a little bit of rain trying to switch to snow at the very end for Washington, D.C., and then you switch it, and, same thing for Philadelphia, maybe Baltimore, rain changing to some brief back-end snow. But the most impressive thing with this is for Friday evening, the day before Christmas Eve. It is still unloading on Michigan, Indiana, Northwest Ohio, Chicago, areas of Illinois. And this is going to be an all-out blizzard, I think, for this area of the Great Lakes region, Ohio Valley, and Midwest. But look at this, your rain quickly changing to snow. So you might have some back-end couple inches of snow in the interior Northeast, but I think that this little plume right here, as we're getting into the middle of the night, the 23rd to Christmas Eve, is going to have a ton of moisture flying around. Even though, it doesn't look like a lot, I think you could have more moisture still all the way down here to Tennessee. Just my gut feeling. You remember, I don't like to just come on here and show you models. I like to throw in my ideas as we're talking. But look, it's so cold that there's blue showing up in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not saying it won't. But it might be snowing out in some oil rigs out there in the Gulf of Mexico. Who knows? But we moved this past, and then we watched some pieces of energy that flies through after this. Do they get going? Not sure. Got a little clipper that flies through, delivers more snow for the Ohio Valley for the evening of the 26th, but we won't talk about that right now. So the Euro, how much snow does Euro show? This is just 10-to-1 ratio. I think more snow will fall than what this is showing. I think that you can multiply this by 2 in some cases. I think potential for widespread 5 to 6 inches are possible in Missouri. I think you can have 20, 25-to-1 snowfall ratios, and certainly in these areas up here. So, I'm not saying that, Kansas City or St. Louis is going to get 8 to 12 inches of snow, but I'm saying that it's not out the realm of possibility. For you folks in Oklahoma City and Tulsa holding out for a prayer, the more northeast you go of the town and to the state, the higher the chance for snow. The European doesn't give much snow for northern Arkansas or anything like that, even though it shows snow for this area. But I still think that you guys could sneak out a few inches of snow in northern Arkansas. I really do. Same thing for Tennessee. Kentucky will switch it to the eastern U.S. And, look at Chicago. I hate when it does that. We're going to have to hold on. It always switches to the evening run, but we'll go all the way out for the duration of this storm. We'll go all the way out we'll go out here. So look at this little area right here in Chicago. That's over 1.5 feet of snow. Areas in eastern Michigan from the European, almost 2 feet of snow, guys, between now and through Christmas. And, it throws a little bit of bone down here in Tennessee, a couple inches of snow in Nashville, almost an inch in Memphis. It throws a little bit of snow down here in the southern Appalachian Mountains, but not as much. So we can sit here and discuss the GFS a little bit, but it's certainly more wintry. Here goes that first system. We're not going to stay as long. I stayed longer on the Euro because I believe it more than the GFS. The GFS has just been pulling head fakes with this system the entire duration. But here comes the snow dropping down Thursday morning, snowing all these sections right here. The one difference you'll immediately notice is the snow is a little bit further southwest as we're getting into Thursday evening into Oklahoma. Drops snow as far south as Little Rock. It's just a little bit further south, but it is trended towards the Euro, so it's not much different. So we'll stop it in the middle of the night this coming Thursday night and Friday morning. And it is snowing like crazy in St. Louis up to Chicago. Rain changes to snow for areas of Memphis and western Tennessee. We'll switch it to the eastern U.S. And, just shows a little bit more snow a little bit further south. But in general, it's came into agreement with the European. And here it is. Here's the low pressure riding up through Indiana. And look at how blue this blue is right here. That is heavy, heavy snow. And this continues to ride through. And then we got to watch out for some energy behind it that tries to fire up. But you see all this moisture kind of off the southeast coastline, the Gulf. We got to watch that. We'll talk about that here in a second. So snow off the GFS, of course. A little bit further south. Shows areas a little bit further south, a little bit more low. But remember, you can almost multiply this by, 1.5 or times 2 because it's going to be snowing very, very, very heavily and very, very cold temperatures. The eastern U.S., and I'm sorry I'm not staying on this so long, but there's not much disagreement now with the European and GFS. There's a good little bit of agreement, but one thing with the GFS is, and the European, you look at this, is Ohio is a tricky spot. It is. For more snow to fall in Ohio, you would need the low pressure to trend back east. But if you're in Indiana and Illinois, points north, this is going to be a big one. But if you're in Tennessee, I'm telling you, anything that falls in Tennessee, I know this doesn't look like a lot, but anything that falls, it ain't going nowhere. The GFS has an inch of snow in Memphis. Same kind of thing for Nashville. Far southwest Virginia, a few inches of snow. And it wants to drop a lot more snow in this area right here of Pennsylvania, West Virginia. But if you look at the European, not quite as much in this region right here, Pennsylvania, Western Maryland, and West Virginia. But just a really incredible storm right here. It really is. And one thing that we'll mention here is wind gusts. As this low pressure begins to pop off the eastern Rockies, this moves through. We'll stop it right here. This is for Thursday morning. The winds are picking up 30, 40 mile per hour wind gust. I think this is going to be more than that. In fact, we're going to just go on and switch to the European because I think that this could be much more significant than what this is showing. I don't even know why I had the blend of all models showing up, but you can tell where the gradient is of the cold front. It's right here, 5 to 10 miles per hour is the winds. ahead of the front. You just easy like Sunday morning out here. Not a whole lot going on. The cold front moves through. We're getting into midday Thursday. You immediately feel a substantial difference heading into St. Louis, for example. As you're getting into the afternoon hours of Thursday, goes from relatively calm conditions to an all-out snowstorm and winds gusting to 30 to 40 miles per hour. Same thing for Little Rock, minus so much snow. Here comes the gradient. Just winds are gusting in this entire area of the country, 30, 40, 50 miles per hour. Look at Chicago, just chilling. Thursday afternoon, getting the last-second things done. But suddenly, you get into Thursday evening, here it comes. By the time you're in the middle of the night, Thursday night into Friday morning, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts, and you're waking up Friday morning to an all-out potential blizzard with 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. Incredible dynamic system. Same thing, you back it up a little bit, you're already going to be experiencing some gusty winds ahead of this system in the interior Northeast, 50, 60 miles per hour. Look at this. Riding Friday morning into New York State, the higher elevations of the interior Northeast. I mean, look at these winds in the Ohio Valley with a wind-driven snow, blizzard conditions, just a incredibly dangerous storm in some cases. Look at Lake Erie. Look at the winds racing almost hurricane-force winds off Lake Erie. The southern tip of Lake Michigan, winds will shift out of the north in these areas. In the entire Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio corridor, even down to Kentucky, 40, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. I mean, even look in the Carolinas in the southeast with the frontal passage, 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts. Nobody's going to miss out on this. By the time you're getting to Friday evening, 50, 60, almost 70 mile per hour wind gusts in these areas, guys, and it's still snowing. It's still snowing. These winds are insane. It's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous, and the winds continue. So, and then they finally let up around Christmas morning. So, this is coming, guys. This is a big system. You look at watches and warnings, not a whole lot going on right now, but I think this begins to change as we get into around this time tomorrow. We'll see a change with this. Wind chill watches up for the Dakotas and Nebraska, eastern Wyoming for now, but it's coming, guys. Substantial system. One thing I will talk about really quickly is this little system in the south as we're getting into Monday evening. You got a cold rain in Louisiana. Would not be surprised if some snowflakes mix in or sleet pellets down here in eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, and central Mississippi. It's a pretty cold rain. You got cold air nearby, but cold air aloft and at the surface just doesn't support much of anything. But as we're getting into Tuesday morning of the 20th, a lot of rain, and I would not be surprised if this rain right here especially mixes with a little bit of snow. Huntsville, Alabama, Atlanta, maybe. Maybe some flakes making up to rain showers making up to Memphis. But this rain's going to be falling some pretty chilly conditions. I mean, even as you get into South Carolina, look at the pink showing up in the higher elevations of Georgia Tuesday afternoon. In the southern areas of the southwest mountains of the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina, some flakes, maybe some sleet mixing in, a little bit of ice. And then by the time you look at the last frame, please don't look at this wholesale like you can believe this, but there's been a northern trend. And as you're getting into the middle of the night, Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, this is literally around midnight or 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. I mean, look at the triad of North Carolina, the foothills. It's showing snow on the NAM with a cold rain in South Carolina. So we got to watch this trend. This could be a sneaky system. If it gets any further north, it could become a sneaky snow winter weather event for areas farther north. It's just a system we have to watch that we haven't talked much on. It's the same system that's going to give part of the same system that's going to give probably Kansas City maybe an inch or two of snow tomorrow. But we got to watch this little system. And you look at the blend of all models, not much support of this, maybe a trace of snow. And you look at ice, maybe a trace of ice. But, of course, if you actually look at the NAM, it really just goes crazy. It wants to drop. And it's still snowing, by the way. It wants to drop a couple inches of snow into these areas of North Carolina. So we'll watch this. Do I believe this? I don't. But, I've seen some crazier things, guys. I really have. And, I wouldn't be surprised if some snowflakes are flying around North Carolina sometime in the middle of the night, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Last thing we'll talk about is this energy behind it. This moves through. So I want to mention this. As this main system pulls through, things are starting to settle down somewhat as we're getting into late Christmas Eve. Santa Claus is coming to town. Very cold, bitter, very bitter. We're waking up Christmas morning. Sometime Christmas Eve into Christmas, into the day after Christmas, there is going to be a lot of energy down here, everywhere. And though you look at this right now for Christmas morning, you don't really see anything on the map. There's not a whole lot going on. But I'm telling you, this is my thoughts, my own personal thoughts. I think you're going to have areas of flurries and snow showers flying around Christmas morning for a lot of areas, and potentially areas kind of south. That's just my thought. And by the time you get into Christmas afternoon, you're getting into Monday, morning of the 26th. Most people still have the day off. Some people do. You got a lot of moisture really close, but just not quite. You look at this actual energy. This is the main system that flies through. You see these little vortices right here, these little pieces of energy? Sometimes this creates precipitation to the surface. And a lot of times you don't see it, but you see this little digging right here? This is what we're holding on for a prayer in the Southeast. Everybody who doesn't get snow from the See First event, which most of us in the Southeast will just get bitterly cold temperatures. But there's still some chatter about this, and I'm still watching it too, and just hanging on that we can see one crazy run to set off Twitter and social media again. But really, it's beginning, as we get a little closer, it's starting to become a pipe dream. But I've seen some crazy things with this systems, and they have happened before. But this is your classic example of so much cold air in place is suppressing this energy right here. And this is a look right here that you like. You're getting into the morning of the 26th, still a lot of cold air around. And look at this little Vort Max right here. To me, that would bring some flurries. I really think it would. But we're watching this, guys. We're watching Christmas Day to just after Christmas. There's still hope, but it's diminishing as we get day by day closer to closer, and no models showing it. But we're still technically 6 to 7 days out. But I think I can comfortably say we're about 3 to 4 days out from knowing if anything's going to come out of this or not. But I'm still watching it, guys. That's all I got. God bless all y'all. Stay safe. Make preparations because it's coming. This storm is going to be huge. God bless all y'all, and I'll be with y'all in the morning.